this thing on? Because it's getting ready to be on.
Hello and welcome to Bell Ringer. My name is Greg. Your guest name today are David Gonzalez and Favio Osorio, the co-founders of Arbol, a startup helping college students overcome economic uncertainty, even beyond tuition, including textbooks, transportation, healthcare costs, all of those unexpected costs that add up. We talk about the company, why they started the company, and a lot of the support that they've received from Buffalo's entrepreneurial ecosystem at events, with other resources, engaging other partners, and learning from other founders. So, David, for those that don't know, what is Arbol?
Yeah, so Arbol is a platform that empowers colleges and universities to identify students who are financially at risk and then connect them with funds instantly. So essentially, we're solving for a problem where there's over 1 million college students who drop out every year due to financial struggles. A lot of times that goes kind of unbeknownst to the college. So, let's say Favio was to encounter maybe like a car accident in which it put him, underwater or in the red. A lot of times he's dealing with that on his own and kind of suffering in silence to a certain extent. While the college oftentimes wants to help. So through Arbol, we're built a platform where the college can receive a request from Favio that he needs help, and then have the rails to send him emergency funds right away so that he can, take care of that small expense and get back and focusing on school. So, and right now we've already gotten 5 colleges that are, locally or in the Buffalo area that we're actively working with, and have already supported roughly about 50 students today.
Yeah, if I may add, one thing that I would say is I know David was using it as an example, but in reality, these are all experiences that David and I have experienced as first generation college students coming from a low income background. In my case, when I was back in college, I had no money to buy books. I always ran out of money to buy food. So fortunately, I was able to rely on my support system of friends and family who were able to be there when I needed them. But there are many people out there who don't have that. And these are high achievers, high potential individuals who unfortunately don't have a support system. So we understand the problem really well, and we're leveraging our knowledge, our capabilities to be able to build something and support the people that that are going through these experiences.
Right. Fabio, you just touched on it a little bit, but I think people's minds probably jump first to just tuition costs. That like rising tuition costs is such a popular topic in the news and a pain point for people. But specifically on your platform, like what are the toughest economic barriers that you're seeing from college students that maybe go unnoticed, that are under the surface? You mentioned books, David mentioned that car crash. Like what are some of these silent struggles that you kind of fill the gap on?
Yeah, great question. There are a few categories. I would start with housing related expenses. Housing is up there in terms of one of the most expensive categories as part of your living expenses, especially if you are a financially independent student, meaning you're responsible for your own rent. You're not receiving financial support from a friend, family member, mom and dad. So in average, that's between $700 to about $1,200, right, monthly. And it's even more expensive if you're the one who is paying for your entire family's rent or mortgage, if you will. So I would start with that: housing related expenses, rent, or just mortgage. The other category is transportation. If you are going to school part-time, most likely you are taking the bus or driving to school. So, when you think about driving, right, you're paying for your car, you're paying for maintaining your car, you're paying for gas. So all of you're paying for insurance as well, registration, all of that adds up. And if your car ever breaks down, that's an additional expense that you have to cover. And if you have no savings set aside, and most people, if you just look at the data, unfortunately don't have enough savings set aside, emergency funds to be able to cover that expense. You're forced to have to borrow, right, to be able to cover that financial need. So transportation, insurance, gas, all of that is the second largest expense, followed by food. Food, that's another big expense. And I'm talking about just the essential things or expenses related to food. Some of the students that we're working with rely on coupons or have to go to the food pantry to get food for free. So I would say those are the three major categories that most students experience.
And then, David, the other side of the coin is the sponsors, right? So I guess a two-part question, like one, who are the sponsors? Why are they interested in this giving? And two, like, what are the barriers that, your platform helps to solve for them?
Yeah, so there's like, who are they is I would say three-pronged. Number one is that we're working through colleges themselves to be able to leverage their emergency funds and put it to better use. So right now, let's say like Favio, pick on him in an emergency. Well, let's say that car crash happened. Well, for the college to know about it, he would have to notify his professor. His professor would then have to refer the issue to someone at financial aid who manages the fund. And then Favio would have to apply. And then all of a sudden it's 2 months later, the problem's come and gone. Favio's missed 2 months of classes, he's dropped out. So everything's too slow. So that's one. So we're streamlining that process, enabling the colleges to put the money that they have set aside for these type of situations to better work. That's number one. Number two is activating their alumni base. Less than 1% of alumni give towards emergency funds or give to needs-based grants that go directly to the students, but they want to do it. You'll see one of the biggest complaints that alumni that come from alumni groups is that, hey, where's my money going? How is it being used? And how is it actually making a real impact? And that's something that we're able to solve for those alumni bases by one, taking that data that we're working with the student to identify their story. Like, hey, look, I come to mind a student named Sarah that we're working with, and Sarah, she's operating in the negative right now. We were trying to figure out like how is she doing this. So she's operating with about a $1,200 gap for each semester. Right, well, how are you doing this? And come to find out, she is selectively not going to class on certain days because she can't afford transportation, the bus to and from the college that she attends. She will strategically not pay rent for a month. That buys her time so that she can work a little bit more off semester, so then she can catch up on rent. So these students, she has a pretty interesting story. She's also maintaining a 3.0 grade average. So we take we take those story points and then feed that to the funder so that they can, obviously participate and see what the type of impact that they're making for a high potential student. And there's countless of stories like this, unfortunately. But then there's also the turnaround story, where we have a student like Angela, who was 3 credit hours away from graduation, had an unexpected emergency, was an international student, so she's paying for tuition out of her pocket. Now she was faced with a dilemma: do I pay my medical bill, which is $6,000, or do I pay for college? Well, we were able to identify and corroborate the story. Within days, raised $6,000 to our donor network, got her the money within a week. She's back in school, didn't have to have that dilemma. The further reward for the donor is that Angela in exchange for receiving that money, keeps her donors up to date with how things are going. This past May, she just graduated, and now she's a lawyer, and now she's actively kind of paying it forward and giving back, and participating in the donor network. And that's how everything comes full circle. So that's kind of how that second group comes into play, is the alumni and then non-alumni too, which is really important, because one kind of orthodoxy that we're pushing on is you don't have to be an alumni at a college to help someone out. And that's something where we're starting to activate people who are part of the community, rather and what we're saying is kind of like, first gen graduates who understand it doesn't matter what college that you went to, they just want to help. But then the interesting group is employers, because there's a talent pipeline that's kind of broken. Is you have all of these students that aren't making it to graduation, that have the hard skills and soft skills that are needed to be the next software engineer or lawyer or doctor or what have you. And there's a lot of demand for diversity in the workplace. Well, geez, we're able to have that employer class actually, and people who are whether it's an individual, actually invest in those students and make sure that they're have the financial resources to get past those barriers and make it all the way to graduation. But the cool thing is that you're able to develop that relationship as early as freshman year, and yeah, that's kind of where everything kind of comes together. So those are 3 classes that we're working with, and all 3 of them are live in their own way.
You talked a bit in there about kind of like the closing of the feedback loop when the student hopefully, resolves their issue, goes on to graduate, and that gets communicated back to different sponsors. Favio, just tell us about, like the value you see in that community end where there is like a feedback loop that does get closed, and it's not kind of just like funneling one way, but there's information and that storytelling that goes back the other way.
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, I think that, like David explained, one of the things that we've been hearing from our donor base is that giving for the sake of giving is not enough, right? They really care about how their money is being used. They really care about going beyond just making a contribution. They want to see results. They really care about how the money is being used to produce good results in the lives of the students. So we enable the students to be able to achieve those results through the financial planning process that we're providing to them, and then that information gets communicated back to the donors. Right? When a donor is able to see that, it's more than just a message, right? They're actually able to see that return on the impact that they're making. So it's really, really valuable. In fact, we were just a couple of days ago, here's another example. We got an email from a young lady, Shakira, who is she graduated from the School of Law at UB with a JD, and she recently passed the bar. Through the support of our donor base, we were able to help her register for the bar. That was an expense that unfortunately she was not able to cover herself. And just recently, she sent us a quick email and let us know that she was able to pass the bar. And now she's able to practice as a lawyer. So we were able to unlock that, right, through that financial support. And then we took that information and shared it with our network of donors, and they were able to see in real time, right, how their money is actually creating impact in the lives of the students. So yeah, it's extremely important. And what we're starting to see as well is donors are starting to react to that and offering additional support, not only monetarily, but also with time, through advice and guidance.
Right. Well, it's an awesome idea, awesome company, and obviously some awesome success stories and stories that are coming out of it. So we appreciate everything you're doing. I did want to pivot just toward the end of the conversation and talk a little bit about, Buffalo's startup ecosystem. I see both of you guys at plenty of events around town. There's a very like communal vibe to the entrepreneurial ecosystem here. So David, I guess I'll start with you. I just wanted to talk, hear from you a little bit about the impact that the community has had on, yourselves as co-founders, the company, any support that you feel, all that kind of stuff. So folks outside of the region can understand, what Buffalo is all about.
Yeah, I'm appreciative of the community and support that I received. I started at Kangaroo Time, which is a local 43 North based startup that's really starting to take off. And then was able just to kind of learn what it's like to be at a startup, to grow a startup, to run a startup. And, I was able to be paired with a mentor like Scott Wayman, who's CEO. And, it just is indicative of someone who actually took the time and kind of showed me the ropes a little bit and enabled me to go down this path with Favio as a founder. And, ever since we've been able to make that transition too, we've, get deeper into community where everyone's sharing ideas, sharing contacts, and, helping to, if you don't know someone, you should, there's a lot of people that help make those introductions. So I think for the most part, it's been amazing just to be able to really learn something that's very, very distinct, which is kind of like early stage startups, which is and kind of a little bit counterintuitive to more mature businesses. And the community's been able to help teach me and us how to go ahead and have a shot at making Arbol succeed in whatever venture we have next.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate both of your time joining us. Before we end, we always do a couple hard hitting, what we call blizzard round questions. So I'll go. I'll ask the question. David, you can answer. Then Favio, and we'll wrap in just a minute here. So, if you were a flavor of ice cream, David, what would you be?
I'd be twist. A little bit of vanilla and chocolate, because I'm a amalgamation of lots of different influences.
Yeah, in my case, I would be mint chocolate chip.
What's a book or TV show that you'd recommend?
Ooh, TV show. What I just watched? Succession's amazing. Watch this.
It is. Great choice. Favio, how about you?
Yeah. So I get a lot of book recommendations, but one of the books I would recommend is actually a fiction book called Project Hail Mary by Andy Weir. Amazing book. Yeah, I won't say much more about it. It's just an amazing book.
Okay, awesome. How about text or phone call?
Phone call.
Text for me.
Okay, hiking or skiing?
I hate heights. I do hiking. I can tolerate that better.
Snowboarding.
How about Bills or Sabres?
Bills.
Last question, most important. Chicken wings, drumstick or flat?
I started off as a drumstick person. I'm starting to appreciate the flats. So I'm a flat person as of today.
Interesting. I'm the opposite. I like the drumsticks.
Awesome. Thank you both very much for your time and everything you're doing in Western New York. Really appreciate it.
Thanks, Greg. This was fun.
Thank you.
Bellringer is a podcast by Invest Buffalo Niagara, the region's nonprofit, privately funded economic development organization, bringing new jobs for our neighbors and new investment for our neighborhoods. Come grow your business with us.